Oh, hello everybody. We're back. Welcome in, Lycan. Good to see you, buddy. And it's time. It's finally here. The time has arrived. Oh, hey, Jax. How you doing, buddy? Hey, welcome in, Geeky. Hello, hello. What does a female snake use for support? A cobra. Nice. I fear for the calendar. Its days are numbered. How you doing, though, Geeky? Well, good to see you. Good to see you. I bought Cyberpunk on this for the Steam Deck on Saturday. Nice, nice. Was it expensive or was it quite? Was it on sale? It is warm. Holy moly! It is wham. But yeah, welcome in, everyone. We are going to be starting Horizon Forbidden West today, so I'm excited. I'm excited for. Yeah, I'm excited for the game. It's been a long time coming. A long time coming. So um, well, ever since last year, really, when I played Zero Dawn for the second time. So it's been on hold for a while. You got the Ultimate Edition, so it's basically standard price. Nice, nice. Right. Oh, pardon me. I'm guessing you've been setting that up with all sorts of different things. Oh, pardon me. Ooh, that. Grand. Been busy today doing real life stuff, so I had to go to the docks. Oh, for a blood pressure test. Oh shit. But been a nice day. Glad it's not raining. That is true. It's been really hot here. Holy moly. It's been like, I think it's like 22 degrees, 23. But it's felt like 30, and it is humid. It is humid. Like, even though you're on the beach, it's humid. There's no wind. I'm like dying. So yeah, I've been yes, I've been chilling for the most part. But I hope the blood pressure test was okay. Hope it's been okay. Hope it's all right for you. But I'm glad you had a nice day. That's always good. That's always good to hear. Um, yeah, you can't install mods until you get a keyboard for the Steam Deck. Ah, for its desktop mode. I see. So you need to have the game in with plugged have a keyboard plugged in and on like in a dock for it to like register in desktop mode. That's a bit like a Switch then, in a sense. In a sense, really. Okay. Right. Yeah, I don't have white coat syndrome, so it doesn't go up when I get it tested. So it went well. Oh, that's good. That's good. That's always good. Yeah, I've never heard of that saying before. White coat syndrome. I guessing it's like things go wrong when you go to see a doctor or something, basically, or unless it's an actual syndrome. I don't know. No, that's when it's basically a PC interface. Ah, I see. Okay, makes sense now. But yeah, it's been doctors make your blood pressure go up. To be honest, I can't remember the last time I had a blood pressure test. Oh, yeah, it was when I fractured my arm. Yes, that would have been March, April, and it was fine. It was like 120 over 80, which is like bang on what it needs to be. So you can't use the on-screen keyboard. Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha. I'm with you now. I'm with you. Yeah, I think I'm okay in that respect. I don't mind it, but I have to go get my bloods taken tomorrow. Oh, and that makes me. Yeah, I'd be shitting myself if I was trying if my blood seemed to be taken. I'd be like, if it's obviously it's gonna be something important, but like, ooh. But yeah. Oh, so you got a busy few days then. All right, let's pause the music. Switch scene. Top right, I think for this. Oh, and there's my PlayStation. My PS5. Okay, put the game audio back up and. Yeah. Why is it not? Oh, what? Hold on. Oh, hold on. Yeah, I know. You've been patiently waiting for this. Um, that's. I don't think it's pumping out any audio. So let me. I get it, but no thanks. My 2 days off work are very busy. That's fair. That's fair. Is it just the 2 days you have off? I'm guessing, like the Saturday and Sunday. That. I guess that's your um like your days off weekends because that's the same for me. I normally have those days off as well. Epi, thank you for the hydrating stretch. I will do that in a second. Good to see you. Hold on. Is it going to work now? Or is it going to work now? Maybe I've just turned off sounds. I don't know. I don't know anymore. I work 40 hours, but not always, but not always weekends off. Ah, I see. I see. Oh, okay. Hey yo, good to see you. How's things? How was the zombies session, by the way? Right. Let's boot the game and see what happens. Depends what's on. Ah, that's fair. That's fair. Oh no, I hear it now. It's working. Gotta boot up the game. Maybe that might help. Play for 3 hours. Nice, nice. What round did you get to? Speech to movie language. Yeah, English. HDR is on. Setting the bright image will appear. I think that's fine. Colorblind mode. No, I think I'm okay with that. Yeah, not colorblind, so that's good. Set out size. Yeah, I might have the background on just to just so I can see the subtitles better. It was a lot of fun though. Nice. Good to hear. Glad you enjoyed. I'd say I haven't played Call of Duty Zombies in forever and a day. Oh, hot minute.
Through a lifetime spent in the pursuit of knowledge,
Oh, silence.
question consumed me. How did our world come to be?
Let me know if the audio is high or quiet, or I'm quiet.
1,000 years ago, triggering the extinction of all life.
Yeah, Project Zero Dawn now.
She showed me how it was reborn. A little outcast girl, ignorant of her own importance.
It's like Insurgents with zombies.
I learned that life was only saved through a technological miracle. Zero Dawn. A terraforming system composed of 9 subordinate functions.
This is like a recap of Zero Dawn, which is nice.
Reshape Earth from a barren rock lush landscape. Tended and protected by the machines. And with her, I learned the deepest secret of them all. The secret of her birth. That she is a clone of Elizabeth Subek, Zero Dawn's creator. Born to prevent a new extinction.
Oh yeah, these guys were fun, weren't they?
Owned by Hades, a malevolent AI. Given sentience by a mysterious signal of unknown origin. And with a little help from me. She prevailed in a great battle at the city of Meridian. Becoming a champion for all humankind.
That's a pretty sick thing, like wall art thing.
But as useful as she has been, now I must leave her behind. For as she strives to put right what Hades sundered, I have made a new discovery.
Ooh, that's a big
One
boy.
that heralds both destruction and opportunity.
So Simon's gonna be the bad guy? But we'll see. Oh god, this looks fucking slick already. Holy shit. Okay. Yep. Visual favor. I think I want to favor performance. I think. At the moment. Wait, just Aloy's position on screen to assist in traversal of and combat. Choose either dynamic or always on the left side of the screen. Well, try left and see what it does. I'm gonna turn motion blur off and camera shake. I think I've been doing that a lot recently with games. Extras. Okay, recap movie. That's what we just watched. Accessibility. Attention. Which one? We just got to start a new game. All right. Here we go then. So we got story, easy, normal, hard, very hard, ultra hard. I think we'll just go normal. Go normal. Minimal HUD information. Look at the world to find your way. Yeah, we'll go explorer because that's what it was kind of in the first game. So you will not miss out on performance. You'll be thinking, why does this look like fidelity mode? Ah, right, okay. Can I change it on the settings, like when I play the game? God, this looks fucking amazing. Holy shit. This looks so much better than Zero Dawn did. But then that was a PS4 game. Damn. Just looks smooth.
I'm running out of time.
She is, Aloy?
The land is dying.
Oh yeah, because she visits her house at the end, doesn't she? I remember correctly.
People are suffering. Soon, they'll starve. All because of a terraforming system that's spiraling out of control.
Oh,
Only
Hades.
I can fix it. Only I have your genetic code. It won't be long before we hit the point of no return.
Oh, what did you do?
Extinction. I've been searching for months for what I need. A backup of Gaia. The AI you designed to control the system.
Oh, is that the armor that she had? What we got at the end of the last game?
But every time I think I have a lead, it comes to nothing.
Almost mode, fidelity mode doesn't matter. Both modes look
Every night,
fantastic.
I have the same dream.
So I may as well put on graphic mode then. Oh fuck! Okay. It
I'm
does
walking
look
under a
really
brilliant
good.
night sky, through a field of flowers.
It looks so good.
And when I arrive at the center,
Boom, nightmares.
I see you, Elizabeth. Waiting for me. Even though you've been dead for 1,000 years. You're the closest person I've ever had to a mother.
Nice necklace. Oh, it's the
For a
world.
moment, I feel whole. But it never lasts.
Ivy.
I'm always left alone.
Oh yeah, because she had it. The early mode is 30
This
frames.
world is your legacy, Elizabeth.
Alright, okay.
I won't let
I'll
it
leave it
slip
on
away.
performance then. I'll leave it on performance because I haven't got a 120 hertz monitor
Valley Below
TV, so
is my only remaining lead. My last hope to find the backup. I'll do whatever it takes to get it. I promise.
this game looks so good. Hey.
If it isn't Aloy, the savior of Meridian, anointed of the Nora.
You know I hate being called that stuff.
Well, consider it a punishment for running out on us the very same night we beat Hades.
I grew up an outcast. Remember, I'm not much for parties.
Yeah. That one was in your honor. Just saying.
That looks great, by the way. I'm guessing a few.
So, what are we doing?
Guessing a few.
Must be
A
opening
time
things
has
up so
passed.
fast.
He's got a beard now.
Delving into ancient ruins? Or maybe it has something to do with the Blight.
Both, actually. But, I should...
Oh no. I've been dragging you a long way. It's
No.
okay. After everything you've done to help the Nora and my family, I swore an oath to help you, no matter what. You're stuck with me now. Like bark on wood.
You better not slow me down then.
Okay. But, if you're going to come with me, you'll need to be able to see what I see.
He's got focus. Oh shit.
A focus. Never thought I'd get your second sight.
I'll give you another one later and show you how to back up your data.
Data?
Information on the device. We've got a lot to cover. I'll have to explain everything as we go.
Are we gonna play as Val? That'd be quite cool actually if we play as Val. The only difference it only has to be. It's going to have better
You see
FPS
like this all the time?
if you have VAR turned on. I'm playing on 100 Hz. Yeah, true. I've been playing the game on balance mode, which is exclusive for the 120 Hz TVs. Ah, nice. Nice. This game looks so good. Holy fuck. I don't want to play Zero Dawn anymore. I've never like. There's like this. You're like, I got it. But just look at it. Look at the grass, the moss, the trees.
Scrapes on the way here. We should find some medicinal plants. Stock up. So it's time for your first lesson with the focus.
Sounds good. Let's get started.
This is our reach for the stars. Okay.
These plants don't look like the ones in the sacred lands.
The focus helps you see the ones we need. Ugh.
Bitter?
Yeah, well, at least they make you feel better. All right, we should keep going.
Might want to grab more of these plants along the way.
Yeah, good idea.
Oh, don't you worry, buddy. I am definitely grabbing all these. Because I'm gonna die a lot. I like how the HUD, yeah, the HUD looks good. What I meant is, I think you'll think you're playing on Fidelity mode is because the resolution wise is similar to Fidelity mode. Just like that. Right, gotcha. I see what you mean now. Sound as well. Oh. Yeah. Oh, it's right stick. Okay. Let me go over here.
This stuff spreads fast.
6 months ago, the land was fine. Now it's everywhere.
Oh, it's 6 months. So ever since we defeated Hades. So this was 6 months after the end
Those
of
ruins.
Zero Dawn.
That's where we need to go.
I see a few ways down. What are we after exactly?
The backup? Well, it's an AI. It's hard to explain. Think of it like a set of instructions that can fix the world.
Yeah, that kind of works. In simple terms, I guess.
Noticed you're traveling light these days.
Yeah, I ran into some trouble on the way here. Lost a lot of my gear. The ground's staying red. The light must be infecting the soil.
That's why we haven't got much, I'm guessing. Items. And bows and things.
Logs.
Salvaging machine carcasses as usual. And there they go.
Looks like they left a carcass behind.
It's such a pretty game. Oh, 9 ingot, let's go. This is mad. We've got Aloy spear. Oh, okay. A powerful high-tech spear equipped with the master overrider and a module that grants the ability to override unlocked machines and access to Zero Dawn systems. ID. The stats: 100% damage, charge speed. I'm guessing you can get like one. And then just a standard hunter bow. Nora anointed. After losing its power source, it was modified to augment range combat. Ah, okay, so it doesn't shield anymore. It just makes range combat better. Okay. Ooh, okay. So we got warrior. Oh, this skill tree though. Ooh. It's definitely a really good looking game. I consider it Forbidden West as the best looking game on PS5. Yeah, I can see that. I can definitely see that. I think it's up there with like Spider-Man 2, Final Fantasy 16. Say as well. Get quick trappers. That's trapping. Hunter. You got survivor. This is okay. Heal more. Yeah. Infiltrator. Oh damn! This is like they really Huh. Oh, and you can go. Last one was Machine Rider, was it? Yeah. Machine Master. Damn, that's a lot of stuff to look at.
A few supplies.
Oh, I can swipe to reveal the full HUD and review current quest lines. Or I can just actually press it to get the map up.
A lot of arrows in that machine. Better take a closer look.
Grab some wood so I can make arrows. Well, it's nice you can have like extra overflow in your inventory. That is
Someone took down this machine recently.
Who else would come here?
I don't know. We better craft some arrows of our own. There might be trouble up
the
ahead.
big seals will be incredibly helpful. Yeah, they look it.
Up some ridgewood.
That's definitely
All right. Now to craft some arrows.
old. It's L1.
Done.
Me too. Arrows ready.
Okay, so we got some arrows ready to use so I can miss every shot. I'd love to see it. Love that.
There's a ladder, but can't reach it from here.
Nothing a well-placed arrow can't knock free. Just have to target the lock.
There we go.
For you.
Just like that. Or you can get some sent to your stash. So, yeah.
Silent goddess. What was this place?
I don't know. The transmission... The, message I found didn't say. Only that a backup might be here. We need to find a way in.
Aww.
The blight's not just poisoning plants. It's killing animals, too.
Then people will get sick too. And starve.
We're not gonna let that happen. So, what happened after I left Meridian?
Well, there was a fuss when people realized you were gone. But then some of us figured you only would have left if it were for something important.
Are you right about that?
Not getting through that way.
I was just exploring, Val. I was just exploring. Dash is also incredibly helpful. Yeah, it seems that way.
Dead end, Aloy.
No. Sure. Okay. I can't climb up there. That's fine. I'm guessing it's gonna be along here, so. I did see there was like a ladder, but like it rolled up. Maybe that's like a shortcut or something.
Down this way.
Medicinal stuff. Oh,
Get to the grass.
Never seen one of those before.
Me neither. Those dead machines have it on alert.
How do you want to handle it?
The focus can help us. We can scan the machine before we make our move.
Okay.
you gotta hold it down. Okay.
Okay. See how parts of it are glowing? Those are its weak spots.
Got it.
Okay,
I'm ready.
concentrate.
Look at it.
Another one's coming.
You can now tag weak points. That is very nice. Yep, it throws rocks. No. Oh, get out.
How does the Focus know all that?
It reads data on the machine.
Like a hunter studying its prey?
Yeah, kind of.
I see another ladder. Looks like it's stuck.
So after the fuss over me leaving, what did everyone else do?
Well, as soon as the celebration was over, my mother led the rest of the Nora home. The Sun King put his people to work rebuilding the city, and I set out to find you.
Nice. HP 5 subscribed. Oh, yeah, that is. My bad. Move that. Forget it's there.
Someone shot this machine too.
Thank you, Dex.
Got it.
It'll be a fully drawn one. Ooh.
You said you've had a Focus since you were a child, right?
Yeah. Found my first one when I fell into a ruin. Got the others from an old cache not long ago. It's good to have extras.
Yeah, didn't Silence give you one, if I'm not mistaken? After you getting imprisoned in the that fucking arena, that dude. Not something. It was like somebody else.
Going into a ruin of the old ones. God has protect us.
We'll be okay, Varl.
Hey, shortcut.
Through here.
That threw me off when I first played this game. Or the health bar.
I know they made some tech trades with Zero Dawn, but why would they have a backup of Gaia?
I guess they want us to check in with them?
Please hold for identiscan. Access denied. Please wait here for personnel to assist you. Dr. Sobek.
Okay.
I only fully draw the bow.
Guess they weren't
Okay.
on great terms with Elizabeth. Well, let's find a way in.
Please hold for identiscan. Access denied. Credentials not
He's tried it, hasn't he?
recognized.
I guess it doesn't like me either.
Yeah, of course it wouldn't, Val.
I should be able to pry this open.
Okay.
There's climbing gear. Guess someone dropped in from above. Whoever left this here might have also shot those machines we found earlier.
So where are they now?
Waiting. Waiting.
Ugh, what's that stench?
Entire camp. Wiped out. They must have come here to delve for scrap.
Acid. That explains the smell. And it looks like something big came in from above.
Crashed right through the camp. And then through the wall. I should take a look at the rubble in that gap.
Examine rubble. It's rubble.
Whatever came through here brought this down as it went out. If I can dislodge some of the debris, we might be able to squeeze through. Maybe I can find something to help in the camp.
Aloy, over here. I think I got something. It's some kind of Osram prototype, I think. This hook looks like it can latch onto things.
Oh, a grapple hook? Let's go.
Pulls it back.
It looks broken, but maybe we can repair it. Hook it to the debris.
And pull it out. That could work. The focus can help us search the camp and identify anything.
I said this game is really cool. Yeah, it does look really cool, actually.
My focus picked up a couple of things to check out.
Poor guy. Acid burned right through his armor.
Oh, serum. Oh, okay.
Stronger than rope.
Metal shards and chill water. Nice.
Part of a machine could help fix the gears. All right, I think I have what I need to repair the tool, or maybe even make something better.
Work better.
Bonk, bonk. Nice. That was worth it. Let's go. Oh, so you can use workbench. Pullcaster. Improved version of a Delver's prototype tool that can latch onto and pull objects. Also enables grappling to specific points. Nice. Special gear obtained.
There. Pole caster. Now to test it on the debris.
A pullcaster. No, how do I... The pullcaster is a versatile tool that allows you to manipulate objects in the environment that have a created pattern. Oh, okay. So this is like the grapple gun in like Batman games, Batman Arkham games. Okay, I can get behind that. Hold LB and tap triangle. Okay, yeah. And yoink.
That worked better than I thought.
Sorry, am I finding out how's it going? It's going good.
Well,
We
doesn't look
we
like
just
there's
started,
an
like,
easy
and
way
so
out of here.
trying to
I should scan the area.
find our way
Find a
through.
to keep
You know.
going.
I hope you're well though. Are you working today, or
What's this thing for?
that's probably going to be some sort of guide?
Whoa.
Good morning. I'm Oswald Dalgard, and it is my pleasure to introduce you to
Why does he look like Green Goblin?
Forget what you think you know.
Or he
about
kind of
us.
gives off that vibe
The
of being
truth is simple.
Green Goblin.
We say reach for the stars, even if you have to cross 8.6 light years of space to get there. Please proceed into the auditorium, where we'll unveil our plans.
So, yeah, I'd seen you went live. Was it yeah, Saturday? I seen you went live Saturday
Wonder what's
playing
in
it,
this.
and I was like, ooh, no.
Guess we'll find out.
But I hope it went well. I know you said it was another playthrough, and you've already played through it before. Oh. Fighting.
I should activate my... Oh, I might be able to get up there.
Oh, okay. Just jump and tap X. Ah, okay. Yeah, that's very much. Yeah.
Wow, that works.
That's almost first descendant.
That pullcaster's useful. Too bad there's only one.
Don't worry, I'll find you another way up.
Okay. Anything else nearby? Quickly get us. Alright. I'll try and wait until you start if I can help it. Ah, it's all good. It's all good. Still good. Don't worry about me. I'll just lurk or not watch. Ugh. Oh, that was close. And that's gonna fall, probably.
Okay, I gotta drop the ladder for Varl.
But how do I just shoot it? No. How does one... Oh, never mind. Ha! It's that one there.
There you go, Varl.
Thanks.
How did I get up there then? Maybe that's like a back way up. Another way. Alright, let's open the door. Oh, this game looks so good.
Humans, Homo sapiens, us. We have always pushed
He
the
does look like a
boundaries as
dickhead.
explorers, pioneers, trailblazers. And now Far Zenith is taking the next leap into the future. That's why we're proud to have resurrected the Odyssey. When our government's abandoned in orbit, Far Zenith will actualize in less than a decade. But that's only the beginning.
It's in
When the ship is
space!
complete, we will send the Odyssey and her crew where no one's gone before.
Hold on, what the fuck?
Save the system. There, we'll create humanity's first off-world colony. The Odyssey may take 300 years to reach it. But when we look up at the night sky, we'll know they're on their way.
Will we?
And in the words of our founder, the late Peter Chimbumbe, the true form of immortality is...
Data corrupt. Playback stopped.
Oh.
The old ones could fly through the sky? Between the stars?
Well, yes, sort of. That ship, the Odyssey, it never made it to the other star. Something went wrong, and it blew up.
He's like, are you sure about that? Are you telling fibs, Aloy?
Is that why Elizabeth gave them a backup of Gaia? For their colony?
I mean, it makes sense.
Error. Public presentation file corrupted. Member recruitment file available. Do you wish to reactivate?
Yeah, reactivate. Let's see what else they had to say.
Ooh.
We all know the projections. Economic instability, new biocontagions, rampant AIs. How long before another catastrophe creates unacceptable risk for the world's elite? We here at Far Zenith believe, escape the inevitable. And so
Oh, so basically run away and make sure the planet burns.
Now you've seen what we're building here. Infrastructure to support the Odyssey's construction. A state-of-the-art data center to facilitate rapid technological advancements. And you've seen how we're managing public perception. So invest and join us.
Claim your berth on the Odyssey. Preserve your way of life beyond the concerns of Earth.
Well, they were right about the world ending. I just didn't know how. Yet.
So everything they said back there about the next step for humanity, it was all a lie. These people only cared about saving their own skin.
Yeah, well, didn't work out for them in the end.
Mm-hmm.
That Oswald guy mentioned a data center.
And it's right there. Probably. Or buried somewhere. Oh, look. It looks...
There. The backup. It should be stored in there.
I mean, that's what happened with Project Zero Dawn. The
Won't
guy
be able to swim
basically
across.
killed everybody
I
else
guess we'll have to find a way around. Come on.
and made sure that all the history was wiped so that they couldn't learn from our mistakes.
The wilds have really grown over this place.
That's kind
Show off.
of... I mean... Is it though? Is it though? Am I being a show-off?
My focus might be able to help here. I should be able to pull that thing out of the wall.
Hit, hit. Nice. Good stuff.
Deeper into the creepy ruin we go.
That is accurate. So accurate.
Bubbles. What is that?
You might have been with
That's
Kenneth.
probably a snake.
Keep your guard up.
Oh, my guard is up.
Oh my god, is very, very up.
Up here.
And fight a snake.
Careful. Don't want those things to call in some friends from underground. Okay. You take the left one. I'll deal with the one on the right.
Okay.
Well, we're doing some integrated stealth.
Moving up.
I need to sneak up on it to take it out with my spear. Can't let it see me. I should scan it first. Check its patrol path.
In position. Ready when you are.
I think it saw me rolling, so it's like...
Damn! Spotted!
Fuck! Ah! Really? I failed? Okay, cool. I was about to do a silent strike as well, but then it just, like, saw me. Alright.
I need to sneak up on it to take it out with my spear. Can't let it see me. I should scan it first. Check its patrol path.
In position. Ready when you are.
I said, come here. Oh, nice. There we go. That is how you silent strike. Not the first time, second time.
Gotcha.
Mine's down too.
Good stuff. Yeah.
More of those machines ahead.
Nothing you and I can't handle.
Aloy, why are you crouching? It's like, what's the button?
Got your back.
Yeah! The fuck out. Easy. I'm done. I think. There's another one. What? You gonna see Deadpool Wolverine this week? Nice. Enjoy. Hope you enjoy that. Look really, really good. Does look really, really good. Yeah, I know I can throw rocks, but I'm not particularly one for throwing rocks. I can strike from above. Ah! Oh, fucking hell. Ow. I got caught in midair. I'm stuck. I am very stuck.
Got 'em all.
Whistle was removed. Ah. Okay,
There's
so
no
they've got
names
rocks.
mentioned. I noticed you have a new look these days.
Yeah, I know. Didn't have a lot of time to shave when I was trying to catch up to you. Don't worry, it's not permanent.
I like it.
Good.
Sorry, my whiskers have anointed.
I would have kept there. Looks good. It looks good in him, to be fair. That's just my humble opinion.
The blight's made its way in here too. Looks like this little guy got caught up in the blight. Couldn't escape.
I hope it didn't suffer long.
Hmm. What you can wish for, really. Quick death.
The Osram must have used explosives against the machines.
They managed to get a couple.
I mean, it worked.
Looks like there was a barricade here. The machines must have broken through.
Take all the shards, though. Metal shards are good. I can buy stuff. Oh, health potion.
Later.
Very
Guess
nice.
that Oseram didn't have a chance to use it.
Drink. Oh, they can overheal. Nice.
Careful. Traps ahead.
Huh. Might be able to disarm them. There. Managed to salvage some supplies.
And not blow yourself
Dismantled
up.
it. And got more supplies.
Nice. Would you love it when you just don't get blown up by traps?
Looks like another camp.
While we're here, maybe we can make some traps of our own. Come in handy with those machines.
Good idea.
Maybe I don't want. Bonk, bonk, bonk.
I don't have the right supplies to craft a trap. But it looks like the Osram shot off some machine parts. I might be able to scrounge up enough materials from them.
Another blast paste. I mean, I'll do the optional objectives. He wants me to, I guess.
Okay.
Oh, how's...
Should have what I need to craft a trap. There. Explosive trap made.
If anything walks into one of those, it won't know what hit it. Over here, Aloy.
Well, it can't.
I
Well,
see a way up.
would, because it knows it's hit a trap or an explosion of sorts. Get trapped. Oh. Tap circle before reaching the grapple point to launch in the air. Oh, that's quite cool.
Don't think they spotted us.
Better scan them.
I've seen this machine before. A scrounger.
It's new to me. Let's see where its weak points are.
Maybe we could place one of those traps you made in its path.
I mean, I could.
This here.
Definitely not going to see that. Definitely not going to see that. I pretty much stick to using the bow for stealth killing, or you go into full combat. Yeah. I don't. I was the same in Zero Dawn. I didn't use traps. Oh, ads. Apologies, everybody. Oh, insta-kill. Let's go. I mean, I can stealth kill it from here. I mean, using traps. I never really use stealth melee. Oh, like silent stealth strike. Shit. Silent strike. Like that.
We're clear.
Let's keep going then.
Oh, like, oh, look at that! It's actually resources for gear upgrades and stuff. That's nice. I like that. Check around. Before I continue on, let's.
You've been in a lot of old world ruins. Are they all like this?
They all have their secrets, but every place is different.
Got some resources. What's that medicinal spec? Okay. Yeah, I like that too. That's quite nice. That sections it all off. It is nice. Not just like resources, like it was in the first game. It's like, well, this is what you need for gear. This is what you need for medicine and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, okay, that makes more sense. Welcome back, guys, everybody. I think you just missed one stealth kill. Oh, you didn't miss too much. I'm just finding and grabbing things. Up here. That's everything I need to get. Oh, I could have climbed across. Ah, I see. And then now there's also items that are just for selling. Nice. Did you get the DLC too? Yes, I've got Burning Shores. I've got the Burning Shores DLC here. I do indeed. Keep up.
That's a big storm picking up out there.
Yeah. And they're getting stronger. And more frequent.
So the storms, the blighted lands, the rivers and lakes choked with algae. You were born to fix all that?
Yeah. But I can only do it if I find that backup. I think we're winding our way around to the data center. We'll need to cut through that big building on the right out there.
Okie doke.
This data mentions the tech that Far Zenith traded with Zero Dawn. It doesn't explain how they got it back up.
I'll keep an eye out for more data.
Yes, he's picking up. He's picking up.
Let's see. Huh. A lot of glyphs. I'll tuck this away to study later.
Looks like we've got to climb up.
Ah, so if you tap it, it finds the handholds for you. Way back down, if you need to.
You okay?
Hi.
Yeah. Guess we won't be going that way.
Oh wait, what? But now we have to go. Ah, this way maybe. Ah, found it.
This place is really falling apart.
Well, it is 1,000 years old.
Yeah, I say it is ruins. Makes
Looks like
sense.
some kind of meeting room. A door.
Makes all the sense.
Onto.
The Zero Dawn terraforming system, the brainchild of Dr. Elizabeth Sobek. Empowered by 9 subordinate functions, Gaia, the core of the system, is capable of advanced planetary engineering, an obvious advantage to our space colonization efforts. Operation Phase 1. Establish an asset within Project Zero
Let me
Dawn.
guess, it's probably Hades.
Complete. Phase 2. The asset will secretly beamcast a complete copy of Gaia and her subordinate functions to this facility's data center.
Ah,
If all
okay.
goes well, Zero Dawn staff will remain completely unaware
That's
of
why
the
there's a
transition.
copy.
Risks. Discovery of this operation could result in Zero Dawn withholding the already negotiated Apollo database. Special care must be taken not to alert Travis Tate, the expert hacker in charge of Hades Protocol. In addition, extreme caution must be exercised in regards to Dr. Sobek herself. As one of the world's preeminent technologists, she may have instituted unforeseen security measures. A complete assessment is attached. This concludes the executive summary.
Okay, so they secretly made a copy.
Elizabeth sent the backup here, but she didn't. Far Zenith stole Gaia.
Aloy, why does that woman look like you?
It's okay, Pearl. We look alike because we're the exact same. Genetically identical.
But she was one of the old ones. How can you be her?
Because I wasn't born. I was
Explain.
made by a machine. It's why I'm
Complicated.
motherless, why I was cast out as an infant.
I don't understand. What kind of machine can make a person?
Remember when I said the backup is like a set of instructions?
What kind of machine, huh?
More than that. It's called Gaia.
Oh,
And
right.
for a long time, she
Thought she was talking
carried
about something else then, but
the world
okay.
until she had to destroy herself. So she made me to bring her back. I'm the only one who can. This place is my last hope.
You once said the goddess spoke to you when you went into All Mother Mountain. Was that this Gaia?
Yes, but she's not the goddess, Laurel. There isn't one.
How can you be sure? It sounds like she anointed you.
When people said Ada looked ugly in this game, yeah, she looks amazing.
I've had a lot of time to figure this out.
Yeah, I mean,
too.
people will do that.
But for now, the reports said they were going to store the stolen copy of Gaia
Okay.
in the data center.
Yeah, Ada's lovely.
So that's where we have to go. Okay?
Very pretty lady. Very pretty lady indeed.
Huh. Look at that. Aloy, over here. I found something you could use.
Hold on. I'm searching for things.
Those Othra must have left us behind. Can't help them. But
A weapon. Thanks, Varl. We should keep moving.
after you.
Frost blast sling. Oh. Oh, nice. Okay, so a slingshot. Can I, like, store that to, like, a hotbar? Oh, no. I can just the weapon wheel, isn't it? Use photos, you can, and if you use photo mode and take the camera up close to Aloy, you can see she has a peach fuzz. Oh yeah, I can see on the back. Yeah, actually, kind of make it out. Yeah.
Down here.
On her face. Ah, right, not the hair. You know what to put. Oh yeah, she's got like spots. Huh. Neat. Oh yeah, she's got a tan.
We're almost back outside.
Good.
Oh look, it's that snake.
It's heading in the same direction we're going. Great.
I hope we didn't have depth of field on. Ah, right. Okay. I will look at it again at some point. Okay.
Another one of those machines. I could try out that new weapon on it.
Bonk.
I can do more damage to it while it's brittle. I
It's
better switch to my
already
bow.
brittle, Aloy.
Oh, I dodged that.
Machine couldn't take the cold.
Monster and Delvers. And a lot of acid. That big machine must have attacked as they tried to escape.
They didn't stand a chance.
Did not, did they?
So,
The camera that is following Aloy is a special camera. Is it really? I know I could change it so that it was either to the left or like dynamic.
There were supposed to be more backups. But 1,000 years ago, a guy named Ted Farrow purged them all.
was he part of Far Zenith too?
No. He was worse. Looks like we can cross over here.
Okay. Really? I can't get under there? What the fucking sorcery is that? I'll just do that, I suppose. What a leap. There's some little stuff over there. I know I've got some in my inventory, but I don't want to be, you know, I don't want to... Oh. Really, Aloy? We're gonna go this way, I think, by the looks of it.
That big metal thing looked like the ship we saw back in the auditorium. Imagine going up to the stars from that.
More Oseram. Machines tore right through them.
Well, probably not machines, but a machine.
These guys couldn't catch a break.
I wonder if the snake hears voices in its head.
You can
It's a
tap into
viper.
focus to keep track of it.
Bam. I don't understand. Ah, to me. Well, there come his buddies.
Okay, now how to get out of here.
Nice.
Machine ripped right through the wall.
Nice. So much Ridgewood, it's unbelievable.
There's a ladder in the back.
Bonk. Basically, the camera has unique lighting rig to it that shows Aloy and cutscene quality outside of cutscene and dialogue
in
events.
here?
Oh, nice. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I dig. I dig that. Never have enough arrows. I did not mean to do that. I got 3 shots for it.
So tell me something. Sona was really okay with you not going back to the Sacred Lands?
As the Nora war chief, she understood why I was obligated to follow you. But as my mother, she wasn't pleased.
Is she ever pleased? I don't think I've seen her smile.
Me neither.
Wow, me neither. Yeesh. Getting warm. Yeah, I want to start this game today at least, at the very least. I'm hoping it like the weather kind of starts to cool down a little bit next couple of days, but we'll see. Can't lie, it's still slightly uncomfortable. But we do what we can. Oh, goody. Three of them, and they just happen to be in the way.
3 of those things. And if they slaughtered all those Oseram, we'll never get through to the data center.
There's no way to slip past them. They're too tough to fight head on.
We could find a settlement. Convince some hunters to help us.
That would take weeks, and we don't have that kind of time. Maybe all we need is that shuttle to fall.
That thing? How?
We'll figure it out. Just wait here.
Aloy.
I got it.
Trust me.
And there she goes.
And there she goes.
Just need...
Aloy must have some long rope. Aren't I?
If I can make it to that tower, I should be able to find a way across to the shuttle.
And all of this is just like tutorial. Not tutorial, but it's like prologue stuff. Fucking mental. I'm gonna wait for the I'll wait for it to come back round. Let's do this.
Maybe I should stick to my spear for now. Save some ammo.
Hasn't actually seen me yet. He's just seen it die. you know? Oh, really? It said Silent Strike. Come on, dude. Oh, nice. Oh, got him. GG's. Hey, Ethereum. How you doing, buddy? Good to see you. That's things. Oh, we definitely need that health up. I'm doing alright. Hot, humid, so just kind of trying to keep cool as much as I can, but obviously with a PC running and whatnot, is probably, and a PS5 running, is probably not helping my cause. It's fine. Not too bad. Other than very warm. Yeah, it's like I live on the coast and it's still very hot and humid. Like you'd think it'd be a bit cooler because it's, you know, you get the wind from the sea, but no. Sadly not. That logic flies out the fucking window big time, so. How are you keeping it there? Apart from that. I'm glad you're doing, sorry, I'm glad you're doing well. Apart from being very warm. Been up to much lately, or been chilling?
There. That way I can get into
Bonk.
the tower.
Same, I'm on the coast myself and less than a minute walk from the beach. So yeah, pretty much the same as me. Invested in a tower fan. I had a metal desk fan.
Okay, there's a rail up there. I think I can reach it if I launch myself off that grapple point.
Did have a fan, like at one point. It's up in my loft at the minute, so I could just go and grab it, but then it's an extra thing to plug in, so it's more electric being used. Other than helping out with and participating in a charity stream on Saturday, but otherwise haven't been up too much. Oh, nice. What was the charity stream? Hope it went well. You got some money raised and whatnot, or at least awareness.
Well, that sounds good.
Alright, give me. Let me just get up here. I need to pop downstairs for a second, so I'll be right back. Or hopefully it won't be too long. I mean, we can't stop here, can we? Yeah, thank God it's out. Oh no, why did I laugh at that? Oh no. God fucking damn it, Andrew. Why are you so immature? At this point, it's just best to continue. Yeah, that's what I thought.
If it made you, if I made you think that I was just fooling around. Yeah. Yes, Lara. Yes, do you know what? That's exactly what I wanted you to do. Just, I mean, you can't fault it. You can't fault it. You just can't fault it.
There he goes.
What have you done to him?
Off the end, actually. In terms of the level, at least, anyway. Bonk. I hit that, right? Right?
To all your friends to take the orbs and scatter them throughout Avalar, quickly!
No! Go! Crush! Get the orbs now!
And then we have some lore.
No! You despicable little creature! I'll kill you!
This is bad news for Avalar. Hunter, why didn't you chase him?
Damn, we've all got like all of us have got at least one elimination. Go. Love to see that. Oh, Jax, where are you going? I need to clip that.
This is important.
This doesn't look good.
Well, hi. Did it just jump into the... It just fucking yeeted itself. Bruh. Did anyone? Oh, wow. It actually saves you from death. That's kind of cool. I've never actually done that before. If you catch a thief and then fall. Right.
E123 Omega has engaged methods. Head to the wave ocean, head to wave ocean. Agent Shadow, E123 Omega has engaged methods. Head to wave ocean immediately.
They left in a fucking blunder. Wait, what? Oh, I'm so clipping that. Crazy. Oh! How did I save that? I was like, I spun and I was off. I was floating in midair. Long. I played the shit out of Fable 2 and 3.
I don't want to miss out on the hunt. Jesus, you're insatiable. Hey.
That's gotta be a clip.
Through the gap.
Go, go.
Through the roadworks. Aim for the train.
Oh, I fell off. fell off.
Cut, where are you going?
Physics in this armor guys. No, they're not. They're really not. Certain conditions, or am I missing something completely obvious? Stand under the sink one and jump up to it. Which is there. Oh. Oh, I'm a fucking idiot. Thank you, Savage. For some reason... Bitch. I'm a... Hit me with your best shot. Fire away. Get fucked. I mean, to be fair, if I shot someone real life. Oh, thank you, Theron. I thought I unmuted myself, but I didn't. Thank you. But yeah, I had to. Oh well, I had to do some errands quickly, and then grab another drink while I was downstairs. So it is warm. I've opened the windows. I had them closed all day, but since the sun's set a little bit, some fresher air in here, maybe, or some light. It was a stream of friends charity stream for St. Basil's, a youth homeless housing charity that helped him when he was in need. Oh, nice, nice. So wanted to give back to them for all the help they gave him, and you ended up raising £315. Oh, in 15 hours. Let's fucking go. Yeah. Fucking GG's. Hell fucking yeah. That's awesome, Theron. The fact that it's one like so like one that's like so near and dear to his that to your friend. That's awesome. Fucking awesome. Alright. Let's try to grab some things.
It's getting bad.
Okay, here we go. Where we left off. Okay.
Made it.
Please don't break. Please don't break. Please don't break. Please don't break. Please don't break.
That was close.
Yep, very.
One rickety tower down. To the next.
One rickety tower.
We'll be able to make that jump. There is a cable here. Maybe I can ride it well,
Why did I just have a feeling that was gonna happen?
It's barely holding together.
It's funny how when it's being scaled it starts to break.
Looks like there are massive clamps holding the shuttle in place. Oh, but there's a control console nearby.
No, I think you have to hit it.
Clamps. The shuttle should fall right into the basin.
I got a funny feeling it's gonna like not break, and then you're gonna have to like break it. No. No, you have to release it manually, as per.
Great. More machines in my way.
Just two. Because obvious game is obvious. Obvious game is obvious. Oh, come on. Yeah, it seemed that way, didn't it? I think because, yeah, I wasn't, like, properly crouched. Maybe. Ow. Critical strike.
Got this place to myself now.
Yeah, I think what the game's trying. I think the game wants you to do it from cover. So I mean, it makes sense because to do it from cover and not like roll constantly behind it and then just be like, haha. But apparently I've got the place to myself now. So if I can grab some medicinal berries, I know I've got some in my inventory, but I just grab some. That'd be like... That was awesome though. That's awesome though. You got you helped out with your buddy with the charity stream. How much money did? Sorry, not how much money. What games did you play, or what did you participate in? Is it like multiplayer games, like Mario Kart, or like Crab Game, or like was it any PC games, or was it all like console stuff? Fucking shit myself. I heard that, and I was like, what the fuck? Caught me off guard.
Control console might be in there.
Hold on, hold on. Medicinal herbs are needed. Okay, there we go. I'm fine. I'm happy now.
Okay. Time to crush those machines down below.
I don't think it's gonna work.
The shuttle's caught up in those cables.
You gotta cut him down.
I'm gonna have to climb the tower to find a way to disconnect them.
Shocker.
Now, how to get up the tower? Scanning with my focus could help here. If I pull that beam down, it might drop the access lift.
Evo. Oh, never mind. Hold L2 and R2 this. Nice. There she blows. Yeah, that works. Probably. I don't know.
Closer to the shuttle, attach the cables.
Shoot the shuttle cable connectors. Like these things?
Creaking doesn't sound good. I'm gonna have to detach those cables quick.
Yes. Yes, we do, Aloy. Yes, Aloy, we do. Oh, yoink.
This should be the right spot. There. No connectors or any cables.
Bonk.
Should break if I shoot. One down. I just need to climb higher and detach
Pulse, right?
Scaling an ancient rickety tower with killer machines waiting down below. Maybe Val was right. No turning back now.
Maybe Val had some sense. Shocker. I don't really want to overstay my welcome here, do I?
Almost there. There's the other connector.
It's gonna pull it down, isn't it? Oh shit. Oh. Oh my god. You might want to leave, Aloy. Jesus Christ. Yeah, that's pretty much my reaction. Shit, shit. This is fine. This is fine. This is fine. Jesus. And the snake's gonna come back now, isn't it? Oh look, there's one just stuck. No, yeah.
Finishing this the hard way.
Uh,
I need to take this thing down to get to the data center. I should scan for weak spots. Okay, where's that weak spot?
well, at least it's not like detached yet. Yeah.
Watch out for that acid.
Yeah, realistically, I gotta like shoot the. Whoa.
You still got some fight left in you.
I've done like two.
Those canisters are exposed now. I should aim for them.
Oh, now it's pissed. I will not lie, that was a fucking hell of a shot. Well, it's truly free now, so that's something.
God damn it, it broke free. I gotta take this thing down fast. That may be boss ammo. Or my focus might find something we can use around here.
I am totally fine with what's happening. Oh, fuck off. Fucking burying. Boom. Please die. Level 2 reached.
Dead. Finally.
Skill point, health gone up. Nice. Oh, okay, so health goes up with... Yeah, that makes sense, actually. Oh, I had a...
The data center should be straight ahead. I guess Varl's gonna have to find another way there.
I could just use its own gun on it, but that's fine. There was so much going on. I was just like, it's fine. Participated in all of it. I started off with FF5 where I'd start from the beginning and he would have a massive headache from being about 40% in already. I nearly got up in that 2.5 hour segment. Oh no. Then it was a Game of Life, which was just silliness, and I somehow managed to get 8 kids in one of the games of it. Then Among Us, then after that it was Golf with Your Friends. Then we finished off with Gartic Phone. Nice. Sounds like an absolute blast of a time. Gartic Phone's quite funny, from what I've seen. Yeah, you really need to make sure you have enough space between Aloy and the enemies to get the foe fully drawn. Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah. There's no... It's definitely... This game definitely wants you, like, prefers you to be in ranged combat rather than close quarters.
I'm close. I have to be. Please be here.
Not going to be, is it? Oh, completed it. Let's go. Pirate XP. Let's go, baby.
It's here.
Gaia version 6.9. Initializing. Hello.
Hi. Elizabeth? Travis Tate.
Now, what's this we got here? A Farzan's conspiracy to steal a copy of Gaia? And her subordinate functions? Naughty, naughty. You want me to handle this, Liz? Blasphemers! Brood of vipers! With a mighty hand I smite and pour troubles upon you!
Shall not steal. That's...
This ain't no copy of Gaia you stole, you losers. But it's the mother of all logic bombs. So good luck repairing your data. And next time you start thinking you can outsmart a Tate, remember my salute.
Fuck yourself. So they stole a shitty copy. I mean, which was sensible of them, but not for Aloy.
The goddess.
There is no goddess. I told you that already. That's not Gaia. That's not what I'm looking for. It's nothing but a fake.
Yikes. It was a lot of fun, but and yeah, Gartic one is really good, especially with big groups of people. 100%. So this is gonna make Aloy go even more west, probably. I would assume, or whichever direction, you know, probably west.
You got it.
Varl, I'm sorry.
You have a sharp bite sometimes, you know. But it was pretty amazing to see you fly off that tower and blow up the entire basin.
The thing is, there's going to be more of that. I'm out of leads, Varl. But I have to keep searching. And fast. And whatever risks I have to take, I will. And it doesn't make sense to have someone with me. Someone who might get hurt. This is on me, Varl. Nobody else.
Hold on. Before, in Meridian, you said there was a man who helped you. Silence. You said you used to talk to him a lot about things you discovered from the old world, things no one else understands. And he gave you the lance you used to defeat Hades.
He's gone, Varl. I haven't heard from him since the battle against Hades.
Sure, but Spy Master Murad back in Meridian, he's good at finding people, isn't he?
Varl,
Come on, it might work. Plus, you'll get to see some friendly faces again.
Okay. I guess it's worth a shot.
We've got a long walk ahead.
Actually, I've got a better idea.
Let's ride on horseback, baby. I was like, whoa, fucking. He's enjoying it, really. Bless him. Oh, God. New interlude, the point of the lance. Oh, we're back. Hi. Hi.
Son, it's true. She's come back.
Bless us. The savior of Meridian has returned.
You earned this welcome. You saved them.
Not yet.
In the name of the Sun King of Vard, a royal welcome for the champion.
Make way.
Hey, buddy.
Murad, Aloy has an urgent matter to discuss.
Does she? That makes two of us. I've sent forth hunters for weeks. To Sunfall all the way to the Sacred Land, searching for you. Something happened at the Spire. Come. I'll show you.
Oh, that's where you fought Hades in the first game.
Watch your step. You saved us all, to be sure, but we're still cleaning up the mess.
Stop staring.
It happened right after the solstice. We were able to explain it away, thank the sun. Otherwise, it might have caused a panic.
Oh, good. Oh, look, it's raining. Oh, they built a statue of her. Nice. Missing like a Woken?
One night, for less than half a minute, it glowed an angry red. From Meridian, it looked like a trick of the light. But those who were closer, atop the light, said it could not have been a reflection. Much to my dismay, they said the light rose up from the tower's base. From that. We left everything just as it was.
Oh, outbreak.
What do you think happened?
I will pause it because it's important cutscenes. It is warm. So hot. 9:05. Which is the fastest growing city in the world? Dublin. Alright. Oh. Oh, at this rate, I might just get to where we are now or whatever and just call it. You know, I might wrap up a little earlier than normal. Just because of the heat. What do I mean? Ooh. Alrighty. Okay, so grab another 45 seconds or so. It's still 21 degrees. Really? This fucking time of day? Like, that's mental if that's the case. Oh no, it's 18. But 18 degrees. It's 18 degrees. Oh my god. I've just seen the weather for the next couple of days. Fuck that. Oh, yeah. I don't think I'm going to stream until Thursday. By the looks of it. just, yeah, nah. It's like 26 degrees today, 26 degrees tomorrow, 27 Wednesday, and then 25, 22 by Friday. Oh, yeah, that is rough. Like, it's nice and all, don't get me wrong, but when you sit in a room with a fucking great big gaming PC and a PS5 running flat out, not nice.
The Spire's supposed to send out signals, messages.
Wait, why can't I hear the game?
But Hades tried to use it to wake up ancient war machines.
I was sure I got the connection to that thing. Wait here while I check it out.
Let us know what you find.
It's going to be 20 degrees tomorrow for me, but it's probably going to be a hit over 30 and I'm streaming tomorrow. Oof, that's going to be rough.
Never could pull this thing out of me. Transmission.
Oh, shit. Who's transmitting data? The tower.
He couldn't. Something was transmitted from the top of the spire. I guess I have to find a way up there.
Wait, I remember her.
Maybe I can jump to that ledge behind me.
What did it say? I should have read what it said.
There we go.
That works.
Now, how to cross over to the spire. Should be able to get up there now. I thought Silence was helping me when he gave me slants. But it looks like he tricked me. It transmitted something through the spire. Did he save Hades? Why would he do that? Well, if I can figure out where he sent it, I can track him down.
Well, that's what happened at the end of the game, innit? He went into his lantern.
Panel's ajar. Can I go up through the inside?
Secrets. What more secrets do you hold?
An elevator? Let's see.
Access lift activated.
Lucky day.
Engaging maintenance configuration.
The whole thing is opening up. Wonder what the Carja will make of this.
Now it's raining.
There's the note.
Well, Aloy, I see you finally figured it out. To be honest, I'm surprised it took you so long to discover my ruse.
You rigged the lands to steal Hades. How could you be so reckless?
Reckless? You're the one who tried to purge Hades before its precious knowledge could be extracted. The mysterious signal that woke it, for example. Or why to obtain one of those Gaia backups you've been having such a hard time finding.
If you knew, why didn't you just tell me?
I've been having problems of my own these past 6 months, Aloy. The difference is, I've made progress. So once your anger at my entirely necessary deception has faded, why don't you come out here and find me in the Forbidden West, and learn all that I've discovered?
Oh, I'll come find you, all right.
Yes. Well, and the coordinates should make it simple enough. Even for you.
Yeah, he's always one step ahead, huh?
There's no other choice.
It is good. Intriguing character.
Better let Varl and Murad know what I found. I guess I should be flattered by the statue. It feels wrong. Especially when my job's only half done.
You went inside it, and it transformed. Almost like the day of the battle.
I can only be grateful that it's a stormy day. Few will have seen the tower change from Meridian. What did you discover?
Hades. The danger didn't end here. It went into the Forbidden West. And I have to follow.
I see. That can be difficult. The West is called forbidden for a reason. A tribe of ferocious warriors controls much of it, the Tanakh, and they allow no trespassers past its border. That said, under the Sun King of Ard, a fragile peace has been negotiated, and indeed, the next embassy will take place in a day or two on the edge of the frontier. Were you to attend the gathering under his auspices, the Tanakh might grant right of passage, instead of hunting you and attacking on sight.
Great, just what I need. More killers.
The Sun King.
Oh, it's Avad. Hello. Howdy doody.
Aloy, it's good to see you. You left in such haste. We never had a chance to properly thank you.
Can we show the champion the spear now? Please?
Itamin, quiet.
It's true. We bear gifts. Decorum usually calls for a ceremony of offering at the palace, but I thought you would prefer a less formal occasion. Bring them, please.
Avad, this is all very kind, but Who's it? Vanasha.
Quick. Better hand them over before she runs off again.
Must you?
Oh. Nice. There's the spear. Very nice. A breather?
Try it on.
Come on. Ah, it's a headpiece.
On behalf of all the citizens of the Sundom, may these tokens remind you of our eternal gratitude.
Yeah, if you did the side quests, you'd know who they were. They know her far. They know her too well. They sure do.
Perhaps you'd like to spend more time with your friends. Come speak to me when you're ready to depart.
I think we'll call it here. I am sweating.
I need to attach the master override to my new spear.
Okay, how do I do that?
Should be a workbench around here I can use.
Oh, in the settings menu I can toggle. Toggle something? Oh, show headpiece. Yeah, I'll keep it on. Why not? Talk to people. It's Sadi Itaman.
I'm relieved to see you
Dowager
in good
Queen
health.
Masadi.
Blessed champion. Itamin, what do you say?
My humblest thanks to you, great champion, for delivering
Aww.
my mother and me from Sunfall, and for defending our holy city against the forces of Shadow. Did I say right?
You said it fine, Edmund. And you're welcome.
Champion, will you teach me how to shoot like a real machine hunter?
Itamin.
I have to go on an important mission, Prince.
To save the world?
Something like that. But when I come back, I could give you a few tips. It would be an honor.
Oh.
We owe you our lives, champion, and we will not forget. May the sun light your way.
Watch out for Thunderjaws, champion.
Oh, I will. Don't worry, buddy. I will. Because fuck those Thunderjaws.
That's part of the Deathbringer we defeated.
Yeah, buried.
This machine was the last line of defense for Hades. It dragged the orb up here and then nearly killed me, but it's just a piece of scrap now.
Good for you. Let's talk to the Sun King. Vad?
The sculptor wanted something even bigger, twice the size, covered in gold and jewels. But I was quite certain you wouldn't appreciate that.
You were right.
No.
see you, but I can't stay long.
I see. I'd hoped you'd remain in the city for a time. Perhaps at the palace.
Meridian's still in danger, but it's bigger than that. To put things right, I have to go west. To Noct territory.
By the sun, that's a Noct? Well, perhaps Murad already told you, but after years of hostility, we've negotiated a truce in hopes of a lasting peace. Another embassy will be held in just a day or two.
When you say years of hostility, I assume you mean the Red Raids?
Ah, yes. My favorite subject.
I wouldn't ask if I didn't need to know.
As you know, my father raided all the border tribes. Asuram, Banuk, and Nora suffered greatly.
Yeah, this is a nice little prologue bit. Yeah, that makes sense.
But none fought back like the Tenakth. They rose up and assaulted our western front at Barren Light, sweeping us from their lands. Getting them to talk to us again after that was tricky.
What makes this coming embassy so special?
Well, just like today, it is special because of the guest.
She's like,
Our delegation will meet with the Tenakth just outside Barren Light. We'll give them treasure, and they'll return a prisoner. Fashav, one of our finest soldiers.
Soldier? Don't you mean raider?
No, not in this case. Fashav is my cousin, nothing like Helis and his ilk. He joined the Western expedition with the hopes of reining in certain excesses. But he was captured during a heroic defense of our forward base at Cinnabar Sands, and has been held ever since.
Idaman looks happy.
You got him out of Sunfall. Any happiness he has, he knows.
Look at him go.
He's turning into a fine young man, which he'll need to be if he's to inherit the crown.
Wouldn't the crown go to a son of yours first?
Yes, well, I'd have to get married for that to happen.
Appreciate it, Lycan. Thank you for the contribution.
Murad keeps throwing noble matches at me.
But he wants you, Aloy. Big time.
Trying to make
Big
them
time.
into someone they're not. At any rate, I never aspired to the throne.
I can just tell.
Sit there
I can just
forever.
tell.
When Edaman comes of age, I hope to step aside. Free of the crown. I might finally be able to travel the world. Who knows? Perhaps even accompany you on one of your adventures.
You make it sound easy.
Alright, let's go.
I need to get going.
One moment, Aloy. There's something I must ask you. Since you left, I've thought of little else.
This isn't really the time.
But it has to be. The way you left before, there's no way to know when I'll see you again.
Oh.
I'm not trying to stop you or hold you back, but I need to know, when your mission is over, will you return to Meridian and stay long enough for us to spend time to...
He is sliding in the DMs right now. You know what? It's a nice thought.
I do hope to see Meridian again, Avad. And you. But this mission, it's my life. It's all I can think about. I have to stay focused. What happens after? I can't imagine.
Ransom, she's like, nah.
I wouldn't know where to begin.
Well, if that place were to end up being Meridian, know that you will always receive a boundless welcome here.
It's like, nah. I gotta save the world
Tend to
and
your
stuff.
mission, Aloy. I will hope for your success and look forward to your return.
You got a little. Gotta keep the plate spinning, you know?
Ignoring me again?
Looks like a memorial. Honoring those who fell in the Battle of the Elite. Lots Lots of brave people defended this place from Hades.
And, oh, there's a workbench. Yeah, where's isn't there what's it folks?
I'll be right here until you need me.
Modify your spear. You got a pipe.
Savior.
There.
Ah, there they are.
The workbench.
They are chilling. They do be chilling. Your upgrade's been crafted. Nice.
Okay.
That's pretty cool, though.
Master override installed.
Uther didn't Vanasha.
Vanasha, thanks for being here.
Wouldn't miss it, even if you did leave us hanging after the big battle.
Vanasha, stop. She's here now, isn't she?
For the moment. But I see that look on her face. She's got business to attend to, and it isn't in Meridian.
You know, I didn't vanish before because I wanted to. I had...
No, Huntress, please. You don't have to justify yourself to us. You saved our butts. If you've got to go, go. With our blessing.
Always.
You both look like you're doing well.
Mr. Shiny Pants here is now the Sun King's
Shiny
military
Pants.
advisor. That means people actually have to listen to him talk. May the sun bless their sorry souls.
They're definitely a married
Say
couple.
Something of substance every once in a while.
What was that? I just fell asleep while you were talking.
And how about you, Vanasha?
I've been looking after Nasadi and Edaman. 2 parts bodyguard, 1 part...
Bad influence.
Huh. I was gonna say nanny, but I like your version better.
I never pictured you as a nanny. Edaman must be special.
Hold on now. I'm not entirely domesticated. Nasadi was the Mad Sun King's wife. She has enemies. I've had to foil a plot or 2.
Right. You can try to hide it, but inside, you're as soft as a silk pillow.
Oh, you have no idea.
Oh dear.
About Edaman?
Yeah, okay, I admit it. Edaman's cute. He's fun, and he looks up to me. I like him. Except when he forgets to wash his hands after hooking worms in that muddy garden behind his solarium. Blech.
It's been months
Just
since
nice.
I was in Sunfall. What's become of the Shadow Karja?
After you wiped out the eclipse, there were hardly any priests or officers left to terrorize the little people.
Avad offered amnesty to all who were forced to serve the Shadow, so the commoners cleaned out the citadel and handed it back to him. The Sundom was unified.
Avad wanted Uther to take command of the garrison there, but Captain Cuddly here refused.
Captain
Rumor has it
Cuddly.
that he wanted to stay close to me here in Meridian.
That's nonsense, of course.
He's like...
Well, I know. You're out. Go! Away with you.
Always an honor, champion.
Always a pleasure. But please, little Huntress, come back someday and tell us about your adventures.
I love them.
If I
Vanasha
can't
and
get in
Uther is a
trouble,
pair.
at least I can hear about yours.
They're great.
Good to see you back here, Savior.
And to Murad and Val.
Well, that's everyone.
Wait, can I... Wait, does it auto-save? Probably... Can I save game? Oh, it does... Okay, it's doing auto-saves. Okay. So I'm guessing if I talk to Avad... no, sorry, Murad... Will that kick into the main game now? Or will it... Or is there some other things to do? I know they said talk to Murad when you're ready to go, sort of thing. If that's the case, I'll leave it here for now. And head on out. Ooh. Actually, I think, you know what, just to be on the safe side, I probably will just call it here. That'll do. That's nice and big, pretty. Yeah. We'll just save. That's fine. Remember, you can only save at campfires, and to answer your question, yes, talking to Mr. Blameless does continue the game. Okay. Alright, we'll call it there then. Because I don't think there's a campfire anywhere. I can save to. Right? It's just... at least it auto-saves. So that's the main thing. So I'll call it there. Well, I appreciate everyone popping in for the start of Horizon Forbidden West. We're gonna raid out. We're gonna raid out a Grant. He's streaming. Normally he streams in the mornings, but he's doing an evening stream. He just watches YouTube videos and just chats to us. So he's all cool. He's all overall cool dude. So I know him from Kat and Jill and stuff. This is the best endpoint. Yeah, it's the best stopping point. That's fine. Cool. Right, let's do the thing. I appreciate one popping in. Stream. Sorry if it was a little bit on the shorter side, but it is warm. So I'm gonna just try and I'll probably turn my PlayStation off and just like turn things off ready. Maybe, and just wait until it slightly goes down a little bit more. But yeah, we'll see how we are for streams this week. I said if it's gonna be like this up until about Thursday, Friday, we probably won't come back until then. So, and I don't want to. Yeah, I just wanted to start it at least. So at least we've done the tutorial side of things. Ready to go then for the main game. So. Yeah, I know. So probably won't be till like Thursday, Friday next stream because of just the sheer heat. So, but I'll be around. So if anyone wants to message me or sees me online, then I'll be around. But until then, take care of yourselves, everybody. Stay safe, and let's go say hi to Grant. And I will see you all next time for more Horizon Forbidden West. Good night, everybody.